My name is Denille Chris Lewis, and I was diagnosed July of 2016, around July 10th. I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, stage 2 initially. From there, it was pretty devastating. I remember my life just kind of spent out of control. Nothing seemed to have made any kind of sense. I was a healthy 38-year-old, so I didn't understand how could this have happened. I never smoked. Then I ultimately did not want to do chemotherapy. The mention of chemotherapy, the letter C, just didn't do well with me at all. I opted to go to get 3 additional opinions. I went to Sloan Memorial. I went to Philadelphia, Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And then I decided to go with Cancer Treatment Centers of America against my better judgment. Had a lumpectomy, a partial lumpectomy. Then I had a full reconstruction. And I feel that was one of the biggest mistakes that I could have made. I should have stuck with the second opinion with Sloan Memorial. Their procedure was a lot less intensive. After I had the surgery, I was told the infamous line, "You're cancer-free." And I was very, very happy. They said my margins were all negative, my lymph nodes were negative. So for me, that seemed like everything was okay. That was September of 2016. Come January of 2017, I had to have a PET scan. And now I'm back in Connecticut at this point. And when I went and seen my oncologist at Yale New Haven Smilo, she said, "We have bad news, you're stage 4. And I said, "How is that possible?" And nothing seemed to have made any sense because I was a stage 2, my margins were negative, and my lymph nodes were negative. And they associated that with me not following the chemo regimen that they initially wanted me to. But things just didn't make any sense. With chemotherapy, I wanted a surgery first. So nonetheless, I ultimately, at that point, I had to agree to chemotherapy in my mind, and which so I did. I did 2 rounds of chemotherapy, Cytoxan and Taxol. But through the whole time, in my heart, I knew that there was another way. I knew that there was another way of treatment. I knew that there had to been an alternate treatment. So what I did was I started researching. I got on YouTube, I went on Google, and then that's when ultimately I came across The Truth About Cancer, Ty Bollinger. And on YouTube, I watched his series, and I jotted down all the doctors, all the information that he had, which was such a wealth of information. And then ultimately, I decided to go to Mexico. But I still didn't know if that was the right decision. I'm 38 years old at this point. I'm a mom with 2 5-year-old twins. So I needed to make sure that I was going to do the right thing. In my heart, I knew that there was a better way to fight this deadly disease. So I prayed on it. And the very next day, I had an appointment with my Connecticut oncologist. And it was the APRN. I went in, she asked me how I was doing, and I says, "I'm having a rough time right now." And ultimately, it was heaven sent because for some reason, she started talking to me about her dad, and her dad had passed away from cancer. And she said to me, if she had a choice, if her dad was healthy enough and strong enough, she would have went to Mexico. And there was no way that she would have been able to know that I was feeling and thinking that way to go to Mexico. So for me, that was a sign, yes, you're on the right path, go to Mexico. So we just started talking more and more, and then ultimately, she got out a piece of napkin, and she wrote on the napkin, and she gave it to me in my hand, and it said, Immunity Cancer Treatment Centers with Dr. Carlos Batista. And she says, "We didn't have this conversation, and I didn't give you this napkin." She says, "But had my dad been healthy enough or strong enough, I would have gone to Mexico for a treatment." And so for me, that was my sign to go to Mexico. And I didn't think twice about it. Me and my family, we kind of coordinated, and I went off to Mexico for a 3-week treatment. The 3-week treatment consists of alternative and holistic approach. Low dose 10% chemo, B17, everything was intravenous. Stem cell therapy, we did the Rife machines, things like that. A lot of vitamins, minerals. 2 weeks in, now mind you, let me just back up a little bit. September of 2016, I had a lump before surgery with the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. They removed that lump. January, get the PET scan. February, I go down to Mexico. The lump returned. So I did this huge big surgery for the lump to ultimately return. So when I went down in the end of February to Dr. Carlos Batista in Mexico, 2 weeks into that treatment, the lump disintegrated. It was gone. It necrosed, totally gone. I couldn't believe it. And that was my biggest concern. I did not want to leave back home to the States with that lump, and it was gone within 2 weeks of that treatment. I was very amazed, and I was very proud of the results. When I was there, everyone pretty much that was there was stage 4. There was a gentleman that had stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had it spread to his gallbladder and liver and things of that nature. Walked right on out of there. Maybe after he was there for at least a good 2 months, walked out of there. I mean, there was this other lady. She was in there with brain cancer, several tumors. They started decreasing 30%, 35%. It was amazing. It was a real miracle. And ultimately, I had a PET scan when I returned home. The PET scan showed 80% decrease. Then I had another PET scan about maybe 2 months ago. Gone. Now, when I went to see the oncologist in Connecticut, initially when she told me I was stage 4, she basically gave me a death sentence. And she had no hope. Well, they didn't give me any hope. There was just no hope. But I knew that there was another way. And now I'm cancer-free. I'm cancer-free. There's no signs of it. And I almost wanted to run out when she told me the news because I didn't want to hear anything that could have possibly been negative. So it took a little bit of adjusting and kind of sink it in. And I asked her, I said, well, you told me 3 weeks ago before my PET scan that you felt that the cancer came back and that you felt a lump in my breast and under the armpit. And now this PET scan is showing that there's absolutely nothing there. She didn't have anything to say to me. She didn't have nothing to say to me at all. Don't give up. Do your research. There is a way. There is a way. I'm a living, breathing testament of it. I have my results black and white for my whole journey from the last year. So now I'm just going to continue to be on the quest of cure with Ty Bollinger and his coalition, his movement. Yeah, and I'm pretty thankful